here are today's headlines. The Department of Energy deploys inspectors to ensure that oil firms do not abuse excise taxes under the train law. The Bureau of Customs creates a unit that will identify and investigate corrupt personnel. The Bureau of Immigration bars nearly 200 foreigners convicted of sex crimes from entering the country. PTV4 goes digital as the Philippines and Japan commit to improve their state television through digital broadcasting. Good day, I'm Pia Rosas Monato. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The Department of Energy has warned oil companies to comply with the imposition of new excise taxes under the train law. Inspectors have been deployed to ensure that the taxes are applied only on new stocks of oil. Here's our report.
The Oil Industry Management Bureau has deployed a team of inspectors to randomly check the inventories of service stations and depots nationwide. This is to see if the oil firms are complying with the guidelines set by the Department of Energy on the newly implemented tax reform for acceleration and inclusion, or TRAIN law. The new law exacts higher excise taxes on petroleum products. The DOE said oil companies must disclose their existing fuel stocks as of December 31, 2017, and that the new excise taxes should only be imposed once these stocks have been replenished. It added inspectors using the so-called Inspection Report Form, or IRF, must properly introduce themselves to the service stations and fuel depots and inform them of their purpose to acquire data on inventories and subsequent withdrawals, making sure the excise taxes are applied only to new stocks. Violators may be administratively subjected to the cancellation of their certificates of compliance. DOE Secretary Alfonso Cusi said criminal cases such as estafa and profiteering could be filed in court for violations of the oil regulation law and revised penal code. Cusi added violators would be referred to the Bureau of Internal Revenue for a special audit. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Mundo.
Malacanang lauded the move of the Office of the Ombudsman asking the Sandigan Bayan to order the cancellation of bail and rearrest of former Palawan Governor Joel Reyes. The Court of Appeals had cleared Reyes from murder charges over the 2011 killing of journalist and environmentalist Jerry Ortega. Reyes was convicted in August last year to a prison term of 6 to 8 years over the anomalous renewal of the mining permit of Olympic Mines and Development Corporation. He also faces 36 counts of graft over the alleged anomalous awarding of public works contracts funded from the Malampaya gas field in 2008 and 2009. In its urgent motion, the Ombudsman asked the Anti-Graft Court to reconsider the grant of his bail in the mining permit cases. It also stressed the need to prevent repeat of Reyes' previous escape from the country after being indicted for Ortega's killing. Malacanang earlier said that it will do everything to reverse the decision clearing Reyes from the Ortega case. The Bureau of Customs announced the creation of a unit that will investigate and weed out corrupt and erring personnel. Here's our report.
The Bureau of Customs has created a unit mandated to stop illicit acts of some customs officials and employees from amassing ill-gotten wealth. Commissioner Isidro La Peña ordered the creation of Interim Internal Affairs and Integrity Unit, or IIAIU, that will primarily strengthen disciplinary actions on erring personnel and aims to encourage everyone in the agency to be compliant with existing directives and policy guidelines. The unit will be headed by the BOC Chief and will be composed of 1 lawyer, 2 special investigators, and 3 administrative staff. The functions of the IIAIU will be to investigate complaints against personnel, receive and gather evidence, investigate incidents where evidence in the prosecution of smuggling cases was compromised, and conduct lifestyle checks. It is also tasked to evaluate or recommend the filing of appropriate criminal cases against BOC personnel and undertake liaison work, coordination, and provide assistance to the Office of the Ombudsman, National Anti-Corruption Commission of the Office of the President, and Revenue Integrity Protection Service of the Department of Finance. All reports will be submitted monthly to the Commissioner. With this, La Peña warned employees who blatantly ignore and disobey his orders to step out, or else they will be weeded out of the Bureau. In its campaign against corruption, 641 personnel movements took place in a span of 4 months. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Bench Bondo.
A Singaporean consulting firm for urban, industrial, and infrastructure will make the detailed design of the new Clark City in central Luzon. The design will be made in partnership with Bases Conversion and Development Authority Japan, Overseas Infrastructure Investment Corporation for Transport and Urban Development, and Singapore-based Surbana Jurong. The Singaporean firm is one of the largest consulting companies in Asia with 120 offices in countries such as China, India, and Myanmar. Aside from doing the refinement of the design, Surbana Jurong will also serve as financial and business advisor for the BCDA for the new Clark City project. It will also help in reviewing the development of public-private partnership, framework provision of utility services such as water and power, as well as making the framework for long-term operation of the new Clark City. The new Clark City at the Clark's Economic Zone aims to be the country's first smart, disaster-resilient, and green city. President Rodrigo Duterte has ordered the suspension of several logging concessions in Zamboanga Peninsula due to displaced indigenous populations. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said that Duterte made the announcement during Monday afternoon's cabinet meeting. Roque said the president learned of concerns of indigenous populations that they have been displaced by logging operations of some companies. He said the president had also observed that widespread logging was responsible for the flash floods that hit Mindanao during the onslaught of Tropical Storm Vinta last December. Roque clarified that the president's order was just suspension and not closure, while the Department of Environment and Natural Resources was investigating the alleged displacement of indigenous people by the logging operations. Still to come, the Bureau of Immigration bars nearly 200 foreigners convicted of sex crimes from entering the country. A soldier who died after going missing in action in Marawi gets military honors. These and more when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Nagkaroon ng libreng sakay na programa ang lokal na pamahalaan ng lungsod ng Marawi sa pamumuno ni Mayor Mahul Gandamra. Layunin ng programang ito na magkaroon ng libreng sakay na papasada sa mga cleared areas ng syudad mula alas 6 ng umaga hanggang alas 6 ng gabi na tatagal ng isang buwan. Ito ay kabilang sa mga mabilis na tugon ng City Mayor's Office sa mga hinaing ng mga residenteng namamahalan sa singil ng mga tricycle at kakulangan ng pampublikong sasakyan na umiikot sa syudad. Makikilala ang palibreng sakay sa pamamagitan ng tarpaulin na nakapaskil sa harapan mismo ng 6 na multicab. Mayroong 3 rota ang palibreng sakay kung saan ay 2 multicab ang itinalaga bawat rota. Malaki naman ang pasasalamat ni Nor Badria, kawani ng Department of Agriculture at residente ng Pulo, Marawi City.
Sobrang ganda kasi sobrang hassle yung magsakay ka ng motor kay mahal ang singil. Sobrang laking tulong to actually. Kahit ako na empleyado, kahit may sweldo ka, may pamasahe ka, pero nafe-feel mo yung ganda ng tulong ng gobyerno dito sa program na ito na libreng sakay. Sobrang thank you kay Mayor.
Samantala, nagkaroon din ng Stakeholders Assembly ang Duyog Marawi na dinaluhan ni na TFBM ASEC Felix Castro at Bishop of St. Mary's Prelature of Marawi Most Reverend Edwin de la Peña sa pamumuno ni Duyog Marawi Social Action Director Brother Reynaldo P. Barnido. Ayon naman kay Aslani Simuntila ng LGU Marawi Grievance Committee.
Yung pong Duyog Marawi is under po ito sa ating Prelature of Marawi together with under din po kay Bishop Edwin de la Peña at sa kanila pong mga partners. Ito po ay headed by Director Ray Barnedo. Galing din po siya sa Capiz at pumunta dito sa Marawi para po itatag itong Duyog Marawi. So meron po silang mga volunteers, meron din silang mga program. Nagkaroon po sila ng interventions. Actually, isa po sa mga top na nagbigay ng interventions, relief operations, psychosocial, at saka naging active partner din sila ng City Government of Marawi dito sa ating mapping program at saka sa ating grievance committee. No?
Para sa bayan, Sweet Lukman, Philippine Information Agency.
Department of Transportation is working with Japan as it committed to provide assistance in rehabilitating and maintaining the MRT-3. Here's our report.
Japan has committed to provide financial assistance for the rehabilitation and maintenance of the Metro Rail Transit Line 3 or MRT-3. This follows the exchange of note verbals between the Philippines and Japan, which involves obtaining official development assistance financing under the special terms for economic partnership of the Japan International Cooperation Agency or JICA. JICA will conduct its feasibility study in January to February to assess what needs to be fixed in the MRT system. Once this is completed, the signing of the loan agreement and procurement of the rehabilitation and maintenance provider will follow in March to April, with the mobilization of the Japanese provider expected within the second quarter of this year. Japan assured that it will nominate a provider that is highly qualified and has a strong and reliable track record. The DOTR terminated last November its contract with Busan Universal Rail Incorporated or BURI as the MRT-3's maintenance provider, citing its failure to perform its maintenance obligations and procure spare parts. The Japan ODA for the MRT-3 rehabilitation and maintenance project is part of the DOTR strategies to improve the operations of the railway system. Other measures involve promoting accountability with the termination of BURI, ensuring continued service delivery by establishing the maintenance transition team and purchasing needed spare parts, contracting a rehabilitation and maintenance service provider together with an ODA partner, and putting in place a long-term maintenance and operator provider for MRT-3. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Feline Cervantes.
The Bureau of Immigration barred a total of 187 registered sex offenders or foreigners convicted of sex crimes entering the country last year. BI Port Operations Division Chief Mark Red Marias reported that the number of offenders denied entry in 2017 were higher than those from the previous year. Americans topped with the list with 153, followed by 19 Australians and 10 Britons. About 10 to 15 offenders are turned back at the airports every month. 90% of intercepted foreigners attempted to enter the NAIA, while the rest were stopped at the airports in Mactan, Cebu, and Clark, Pampanga. Morente attributed the successful apprehension of these foreigners to the continued cooperation by their counterparts abroad, including the Interpol and police attaches of the various foreign missions in Manila. In the United States and most Western countries, the government maintains a sex offender registry that allows authorities to keep track of the activities and movement of sex offenders. Rate of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas 7-day Term Deposit Facility or TDF went down Wednesday on back of strong demand from banks. Data released by the central bank showed that weighted average accepted yield of the facility declined to 3.22% from 3.36% last week. This after bids totaled to 127 billion pesos from 95 billion in the previous week. The increase in tenders in turn resulted in the jump in the bid coverage ratio of the facility to 3.1780 from 3.3888 last week. The higher bids was as expected given the lesser demand by banks of liquidity to service their clients. Earlier, BSP Deputy Governor Diwa Ginigunda traced the undersubscription in the TDF to banks' liquidity needs in line with client demand during the holiday season. For the auction on January 17, the BSP will still offer 40 billion pesos worth for the 7-day facility. The provincial government of South Cotabato has completed some 365 million pesos worth of priority infrastructure projects as of the end of 2017. Nilo Sintin, chief of the Inspectorate Unit of the Provincial Governor's Office, said this was based on results of their monitoring last month for implemented projects. Sintin said the completed projects with pending claims totaled 27 million pesos, while those fully paid and with pending claims as of December 2017 reached 337 million. He said the projects include the concreting of upgrading of roads, junctions, and portions of highways in Coronadal City and 5 other towns. Also accomplished were new bridges, school and barangay projects such as multi-purpose buildings, barangay halls, senior citizen buildings, curve and standard gyms, and covered courts, among others. Also finished were the installation of cross drainage, embankment and slope protection, and construction of line canals and water systems. Sintin said they are monitoring several other pending projects to ensure that they have followed proper quality standards. The Philippine Marine Corps accorded military honors to a fallen comrade who went missing in action last June 9 during government efforts to retake Marawi City from the Mate Group terrorists. Captain Maria Rowena Dalmasio, PMC spokesperson, identified the fallen Marine as Private Alejandro Balyan. Balyan was reported missing after an encounter with terrorists commanded by Abdullah Maute near Mapandi Bridge, Barangay Daguduban. She added Balyan's remains arrived at Villamor Air Base, Pasay City from Iligan City Tuesday night. Balyan was a member of 7th MC Marine Battalion Landing Team 7. He reportedly fell into the Agus River while their platoon was maneuvering against the enemy. His decomposing body was recovered on August 3 at Barangay Rurog, Agus, and was identified through DNA testing. The 5-month battle for Marawi resulted in the death of 920 terrorists and 165 troopers and 47 civilians. Up next, the Philippines and Indonesia agreed to strengthen cooperation in cross-border security. PTV4 goes digital as the Philippines and Japan commit to improve their state television through digital broadcasting. These and more when the PNA Newsroom returns. The Philippines and Indonesia strengthen cooperation in protecting each other's seas and borders. This to prevent incidents of terrorism and crime and increase trade. Here's our report.
The Philippines and Indonesia have leveled off on issues to boost mutual cross-border and maritime defense and security cooperation. Eastern Mindanao Commander Lieutenant General Madrilal said both the Philippines and Indonesia's border committees have leveled off on several issues to strengthen their ties. The two countries agreed to intensify coordinated patrol operations to prevent the proliferation of terrorism and other transnational crimes in territorial waters. Rear Admiral Didik Setiono, commander of the Eastern Fleet Command, said one of the resolutions sealed is to establish additional border crossing stations. This will provide a system for monitoring the entry and exit of nationals with the involvement of immigration, quarantine, and customs. The committees also agreed to look into measures to improve the safe passage of Filipinos and Indonesian fisherfolk. Madrillo said they would also jumpstart the review of the 1975 Border Patrol and Border Crossing Agreements to improve maritime security cooperation between the two countries. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Lilian Meliahor.
The newly opened Negros First Organic Technology Center will train inmates of the Negros Occidental District Jail on organic agriculture starting this month. Jafet Masculino, head of the Office of the Provincial Agriculturist, said the NODJ's 7,000 square meter available lot could be linked to the Center for Agriculture Crop Production. The season-long training could benefit the inmates, especially after they had served their sentence and left the jail. Part of the plan was to offer an organic agriculture course accredited by the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority. Also located near the Negros First Rice Processing Center, the Infotech will serve as production area for commodities such as organic rice, vegetables, free-range chicken, and black pig. Masculino expects the technology center to help encourage future organic farming advocates. OPA records show there are at least 17,000 organic adapters with a total area of 16,000 hectares in Negros Occidental. Davao City's chess champion will defend his title at the annual 10th Kidapawan Open Chess Championship on February 3 and 4 at the Kidapawan Convention Center in Kidapawan City. Jason Salubre of Davao City is seeing action along with last year's runner-up Henry Roger Lopez of Tagum City. Also joining are National Masters Emmanuel Esperado, Jonel Balkin, Bob Jones Liwagon, Alexander Lupian, and Makakuna Makala. Grandmaster Darwin Lilo, GM-elect Ronald Dableo, and International Master Oliver de Makiling have also confirmed their participation. The chess tournament is held to commemorate the 20th founding anniversary of Kidapawan City. Around 100 chess players from all over Mindanao and other parts of the country are expected to participate this year. Registration for the 10th Kidapawan Chess Open Championship is ongoing. It is open to all Filipino players of all ages, rated or non-rated, male or female, residing anywhere in the Philippines. The Philippines and Japan have cooperated in digitalizing their state television networks as PTV4 activated its full digital broadcasting service. Digital television is seen to reach and benefit more viewers nationwide. Here's our report.
Sharing the same goal of fully modernizing public broadcasting in the region, Japan and Philippines' respective public communications agencies committed to digitalize the two countries' state televisions. Television viewers will now have a much better and clearer reception of the Philippines Government Television Network, People's Television 4, or PTV4, after Wednesday's ceremonial switch-on of the network's terrestrial transmission system, migrating from being analog to fully digital. Japan Minister for Internal Affairs and Communications Seiko Noda and Presidential Communications Operations Office Secretary Martin Andanar led the ceremonial switch-on at PTV4's station in Quezon City. Noda said having digital broadcasting facilities where citizens have free access, particularly during times of calamities and emergencies, will greatly improve lives.
In addition to high-definition images and an increase in the number of channels, digital broadcasting facilitates quicker disaster emergency information dissemination, where all the citizens have equally access to the various and high-quality information and services for free, thereby helping greatly improve people's lives.
For Andanar's part, the modernization program is one of the most meaningful projects of the Philippines. He said the magnitude of the technological infrastructure improvement is as comprehensive as connecting more than 70 provinces and more than 1,000 cities and municipalities in the country.
Is the most meaningful modernization program, a technological infrastructure with a magnitude as comprehensive as connecting more than 70 provinces and more than 1,000 cities.
Dino Apolonio, Network General Manager of PTV4, vowed that the station will do its part as a responsive digital network. PCOO targets that the Philippines reach full digitalized terrestrial broadcasting by 2030. PTV4 sees the digitalization as a model for other Asian countries to replicate, particularly in investing in the enhancement of state-owned media. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Ron Dulfo.
Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Let's take another look at today's headlines. The Department of Energy deploys inspectors to ensure that oil firms do not abuse excise taxes under the train law. The Bureau of Customs creates a unit that will identify and investigate corrupt personnel. The Bureau of Immigration bars nearly 200 foreigners convicted of sex crimes from entering the country. PTV4 goes digital as the Philippines and Japan commit to improve their state television through digital broadcasting. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. And that's your daily dose of the hottest news and the latest information that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I'm Pia Rosas Maroto. Good day.